And an important milestone in humanity's fight against the coronavirus pandemic. UK has become the first Western country to approve a coronavirus vaccine, with its regulator clearing Pfizer and BioNTech's shot. The emergency authorization has cleared the way for the deployment of a vaccine that is expected to play a significant role in the global effort to halt coronavirus. The messenger RNA vaccine is claimed to have a 95% effective rate in clinical trials. The vaccine is going to be available in Britain from next week. Britain's COVID death toll has neared 60,000. However, experts believe that Pfizer vaccine needs to be stored at a very low temperature of about minus 75 degrees centigrade, which is going to be difficult to maintain in India. So vaccine which is not feasible for India is now something that is being introduced right there in Britain. The UK regulator has cleared this. It's a big shot in the arm, in fact, for humanity, as UK becomes the first country to clear the BioNTech and Pfizer vaccine. Latest coming in right there. What we are picking up at the moment is that the citizens in the United Kingdom will have access to this particular vaccine as early as next week, and hoping that the transmission of coronavirus breaks once people start getting vaccinated in the United Kingdom. Remember, this is a vaccine which is not going to be conducive to the Indian climate because it requires minus 75 degrees for storage as well. All right, we're being joined by Lavina, who's joining us live from the United Kingdom, and Dr. Sanjeev Bagai, the chairman of Nephron Clinic, is joining us live. First, I'm going to throw straight across to Lavina for this fantastic news that is coming in from the United Kingdom. Lavina, does this mean the least common denominator in UK is going to have access to this particular vaccine as early as next week itself?
Indeed, UK has already secured 40 million doses of this before, at 10 million by the end of the month. And the first people to receive this will be the care home workers, because care home workers and the people in the care home, because they have suffered the most during this pandemic in the UK, followed by the health professionals who have to look after the health of the other people. So they will receive, they are the top two priorities of the country, followed by, of course, over 80, then over 70, like that. There are the categories, but yes, people will start receiving it. We have been speaking to the doctors here, and they already were ready with the rollout if the vaccine came through on the 1st of December. So this
We'll try to re-establish that connection right there to Lavina, who we've lost that audio right there with her. But Dr. Sanjeev Bagai, the chairman of Nephron Clinic, is joining us as well. As a medical practitioner, Dr. Bagai, how do you respond to the fast approval? UK becomes the first country. The regulators have approved the Pfizer and BioNTech vaccine as well. How do you respond to this kind of an early approval that is coming in? Of course, it's going to be benefiting many by breaking the COVID transmission. I want your first reaction first on the story.
Good afternoon. I think these kind of news are extremely encouraging. It's a great gratification to see the success of the international scientific and medical and research community. But there is a word of caution,
yes,
because at the moment we are still, what they have are the limited numbers of phase 3 trial. They are trying to get this through the emergency use authorization. Especially for the people who are in the thick of it, as the frontline workers and the doctors, to protect them. So the ongoing monitoring is something which will continue to happen even after the vaccine is launched. We have to look at various subsets of the population, including the children, the elderlies, the comorbids, the immunocompromised, and so on. We have to see how this pans out with regards to the duration. Immunity.
You know, you mentioned a very important point, that while there is much to cheer about this approval, which is an emergency authorization that is coming from the UK authorities and the regulators right there, there remain to be a whole host of concerns on the back of this particular vaccine being available to the masses, to the least common denominator in the UK as well. Pfizer's vaccine is a new type of technology that's never been used in human mass vaccination. On back of this, what are your concerns at this point?
Yeah, so this is the mRNA vaccine. It's the first time an mRNA vaccine is going to be used on human beings. So this is genetically coded. It was earlier being tried to treat some of the cancers, though not totally successfully. And this increase in protein translation, what it does is it enhances the cell delivery of the RNA, and it is fat covered, it's lipid covered. So there are many answers still to be obtained in this next let's say 6 to 12 months journey, which is post vaccination. So it's important to keep a guard up. I don't think the initiation of the vaccine is going to break the pandemic in a hurry. We have to continue with all our precautions. But the most important point is to continue to monitor and gather data after the vaccine has been launched. We must know how a human being is behaving in a real world scenario. So the quick
Yes.
differentiation which I want to make is the efficacy which is being projected by different companies is in a controlled ideal case scenario.
Yes.
The world scenario is entirely different. Also, we have to keep certain logistic issues of super freezing temperature of minus 70 or minus
Correct.
90 Fahrenheit, which obviously in India will become a logistic issue. But even
Yes.
in the international countries, a lot of monitoring still needs to be done. And I think the
You know,
game
you
has
raised some very pertinent points, Dr. Bagai, on the fact that while there is much to cheer for the entire world, precaution and caution is the word of the day, because there are certain more concerns that are coming in from medical experts like you, given the fact that in real world scenario, how is this vaccine really going to pan out is something that is on a wait and watch. I request you to stay on, Dr. Bagai. I request Lavina to stay on as well. You know, just for our viewers, the COVID vaccine is here. UK's emergency clearance for Pfizer vaccine has been achieved. On your screens right now, we'll get you the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine, which has been approved for use from next week in the United Kingdom. The initial data is also suggesting some details, which means that it is 95% effective. It needs cold chain of minus 70 degrees for distribution as well, something which is not achievable very easily in India. From next week onwards, Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine is going to be available. It is 95% effective. That is the efficacy that I was talking about as well. Minus 70 degrees required for distribution. A little tough in India. Regardless, the Western world can pull it off perhaps. Second vaccine coming in after Sputnik V to get a nod. 1.3 billion doses are going to be ready by the end of 2021. And this is going to be the likely scenario as far as this particular vaccine is concerned. My colleague Lavina is also joining us for the latest that is coming in. She's joining us from London. Lavina, Dr. Bagai was just mentioning a few concerns. There is much to cheer because finally UK has a vaccine. The least common denominator will have the access to a vaccine by early next week, if I'm not mistaken. But there are certain concerns as well. How are the regulators dealing with those concerns?
See, the distribution of Pfizer, as you mentioned, in minus 70 degrees is extremely difficult. But nonetheless, at the moment in the UK, this is still a good news. As far as the Oxford Jenner vaccine is going to be coming soon as well, it is expected that in the next few weeks, that might get its a stamp from the regulators. And if that happens, then that is one vaccine that can be stored in the refrigerator and it can be administered very easily. It's cheaper, and this is how multiple vaccines coming through is the only way forward for everyone in the world to access it. So if Pfizer is just a start, and 40 million doses, since UK has already secured 10 million on the way by the end of the month. The doctor surgeries are ready to roll it out to the care homes and the healthcare professionals who look after everybody. So it's a start. But all the other concerns of distribution and how everything will be managed very soon, Oxford Jenner in the UK will be here as well to take care of that.
That's right. Lavina, you stay with us right there. I'm going to go back again to Dr. Bagai. Dr. Bagai, you are mentioning some very serious concerns about how effective it is going to be in the real world scenario as well. This we're talking about Pfizer. There is much reason to cheer. You stated the concerns as well. Back home in India, the race for my vaccine, you've got the Oxford AstraZeneca one as well. Where do you stand overall in this entire vaccine game and this whole rush politically to come out with a vaccine? I'm pretty much sure there are pros and cons to this.
I think science has to be kept ahead of politics, and it has to be left to the medical and the scientific and the research experts. But within the Indian subcontinent, we have at least five very, very promising candidates. The one which has got the maximum distance covered from the clinical trials point of view is the Oxford Serum Institute of India from Pune vaccine. I'm quite hopeful in the next 2 or 3 months that will be in the Indian market in a rollout manner, so that the more at risk and high risk population, especially the doctors and frontline workers, get it. But here again, within the Indian scenario, like I mentioned earlier, we have to continue to monitor the adenovector based vaccine. The Serum Institute vaccine is a very good model. It's been tried earlier. It's a plug and play model, and it uses something which we call as a Trojan horse technique. That means it piggybanks on a adenovector virus base, so that the penetration into the human cells to initiate the immune response is quicker. So it becomes more flexible. It becomes more dearer towards the T cells and the B cells to launch an immune response to the outside antigen, which is the virus. So I'm very hopeful that the Serum Institute vaccine will work well. We have to continue to watch out for known and unknown side effects,
Yes.
short term and long term. I will not bother too much about a particular person as a candidate having some sort of symptoms. I think a cause and effect relationship must be established, which expert committee I'm sure will do. But I think whichever vaccine is approved by ICMR and the Indian government in India, the country, will be safe, will be effective on the ground, not only efficacious in clinical studies, but effective on the ground, and will give a long-term robust immunity. Local logistics have to be monitored, have to be watched for. Adequate manpower to vaccinate such a huge population in India, not once but twice, because there is a booster also required. And keep in mind that the degrees, it's a temperature to be maintained. So I think the task is at hand. We know that this is going to be a tough situation in the next 12 months. The immunization program is going to take upwards of 12 to 24 months. But I'm quite hopeful because
you bring some very important points on the table, Dr. Bagai. I request you to stay on with us. Lavina, please stay on with us. We want to know some more details as far as the Pfizer vaccine is concerned. Let's also bring our viewers up to speed as far as why Pfizer vaccine is not an option for India. Many of you would be wondering if UK regulators can go ahead and approve this particular vaccine. Why is it that India cannot have? Very important reason is that one is that it is very costly. B, the storage is at minus 70 degrees, which can be difficult for the country. We're getting some breaking news coming in. Let's go straight across to it. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson has hailed the COVID vaccine breakthrough, has put out a tweet, and I quote, "It's fantastic that regulator has formally authorized Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine for coronavirus for COVID-19. The vaccine will be made available across the UK from next week. It is the protection of vaccines that will ultimately allow us to reclaim our lives and get the economy moving again," unquote. First reaction coming in from UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson on the vaccine. We have Lavina still with us. Let's go straight across to Lavina on this. She's joining us live from UK. Lavina, one first reaction coming in. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson hailing this particular vaccine. In terms of the details of the Pfizer vaccine as well, Lavina, is the vaccine first going to be made available to the essential services, especially the healthcare workers, and then to the masses? What is the rollout plan looking like?
Of course, Boris Johnson needs good news, and he has got it. Britain being the first to have a vaccine stamped by the regulators. The first in line are the social care home workers and the social care home staff and the people residing there. This is the sector in the UK that suffered the most in the pandemic. There were really a lot of casualties in this sector, so they will be governed. When I say social care, I mean all the care home where old people are residing and all the staff caring for them. Then, of course, are the healthcare professionals, doctors and frontline workers who have to continue giving care to people, and therefore they are second in the line, followed by those above 80, then above 70, and then there is 7-8 categories of people. So to people like us, this vaccine actually, I don't think will be reaching out anytime soon, because there are only 40 million doses that the UK has secured. 10 million on the way by the end of the month, but still not enough for everybody here in the whole UK population. But then Oxford Jenner is very close in the queue, so one is hopeful, with fingers crossed, that by the time Pfizer rolls it out next week, Oxford Jenner will be approved by the regulators, which is easier.
Perhaps the next one would be the Oxford AstraZeneca one as well, but at the moment it's not got the UK regulators' approval. Dr. Sanjeev Bagai continues to be with us as well. Dr. Sanjeev Bagai, while there will be a rush to first give this vaccine out to the essential workers, to the healthcare workers in particular, to people who are of the vulnerable age group, to children perhaps, or people who are above the age of 65, given the kind of concerns that you have flagged off on the back of this vaccine administration, do you think that the healthier people should be first in line to get this vaccine and then see in real time how it pans out, with them before jumping the gun and giving it away to the vulnerable age group?
It's a beautiful question. It's purely scientific. So there are 4 endpoints to a vaccination program. One, that it should stop or diminish the infection, mild, moderate, and severe. 2, it should decrease converting infection to disease. So the conversion of infection to disease must decrease. 3, the really sick and the severe infections should be controlled, and it should not convert to death. So our endpoint is to control the mortality. Our endpoint is to control infection, disease, and the vulnerable. So the prioritization would be the doctors who are most exposed to the infection, would be to the elderlies, to the then to the mass population. So I think beginning from 2021 January, we are looking at a process of 12 to 24 months before we reach 30 to 40% immunization all over India. Mind you, like I've said earlier, there are 2 shots. So the local logistics, manpower, the tracking, the data accumulation is going to be something which we have to be very, very careful of.
All right, Dr. Sanjeev Bagai, I appreciate you joining us with those first-up reaction on this particular news that is coming in. Thank you for painting that all-encompassing picture. While there is reason to cheer, there are some concerns. Dr. Bagai lists those out for us. Lavina getting us that big story from United Kingdom as well. Thank you for joining us with the latest details.
Hello everyone, this is Rahul Kamal here. Hope you enjoyed this video. For the latest news and analysis, like and subscribe the India Today YouTube channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated.